In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Okay, so here we go again then with another Scarlet Supporters Westerer is Besterer podcast with me, Lee G, and Big M, as he calls himself nowadays. Martin, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm all right, mate. How are you, bud?
Yeah, good. Do you know what I've been doing this week? Right.
What?
So not rugby related now, right? So we went shopping yesterday for a sofa.
Oh, yeah, wow.
A new sofa. Oh my Jesus Lord. I mean, we got to you start with there's like a million sofas, like they're bloody everywhere. And we narrowed it down to it's either this one or this one. And one is 6 months. 6 months to get a bloody sofa, and the other one is 3 months. I'm right, okay. So then the wife wanted to check and see if they match with a carpet. You know, you get like a book, and in that book there's like 100 different blooming fabrics. So she go, let me check that one and that one. Let's order these little fabric pieces. They take a month to come. It's just a piece of fabric, and it's like a month to get a piece of fabric to my house. But there's no wonder it takes 6 months to get a sofa there. If it only takes a month just to get this tiny little square. And I'm like, surely people, it cannot be that difficult. 6 months for a sofa. Anyway, we're not getting the 6 months. We're getting the 3 months, provided it doesn't clash with the carpet and it's close enough with the carpet. Then we're going to go with the 3 month one, which has got an electric recliner on it, mate.
Electric recliner? What is that?
Well, the recliners that you kind of push the back and the front comes up. You've got a little bar on the side, and it does that. Well, that's either all or nothing. It's either like all the way up or all the way down. Electric recliner. You just go wherever you want, and you just push the button, and you go stop there. And I tell you what, the wife was talking to the salesperson. I was just sitting there playing with the recliner, going up, down, up a bit more, up a bit more. And I was looking at it and going, like the back of it works differently to the leg bit. And I'm going, okay, yeah, I could watch rugby from here. That was my entire judging of the whole thing was, can I watch rugby from this position? Do you know what I mean? So,
It's a bit like a hospital bed then.
Yeah, a little bit, only nice. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that was my sofa. That was my sofa bit for the week. So at some point we'll have a nice new sofa that will have a nice electric recliner on it, and I'll be able to watch the rugby in peace on my new electric sofa. So so let's crack on with rugby stuff. What did we think of that? Let's start with the Georgia game. We'll go with the Georgia game. What did we think of the Georgia game?
I don't want to comment, if I'm honest with you, mate. I'll comment on Josh McLeod. I thought he was brilliant. I was very disappointed to see him be taken off.
Yeah, me too. He had 3 turnovers. Nobody else had turned over that ball at all. And one of them was a try-saving turnover,
Yeah, and I don't understand. Obviously, this is going to go back to the squad selection now. He was picked at 8. He played blindside the entire game. Even on the scrums, he was playing blindside.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought he kind of slipped into 8 every now and again. But was he, at scrum time, he was definitely blindside, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tipperick was at the back. I mean, I don't understand. Was it a bit of a mental play, or this is our number 8, and then just going to switch it up?
Yeah. Or it's that attitude. I mean, there was essentially 3 7s on the pitch, and any one of them could have played number 8, sort of a thing, because none of them are small boys. Like Cubby used to be in comparison to some of the others, he was a smaller statured 7, but and you wouldn't put Cubby at 8, but any of those 3 7s that we had on the pitch on Saturday, I'd have quite comfortably put 6, 7, or 8. So, yeah, I would have liked to have seen McLeod, Falatau, and Jack Morgan just stay. I thought as a balanced back row, that would have been excellent. But for all the fussing to do about how good Falatau is, he did nothing when he had that one chip and chase that he then knocked on, and that was about it. That was.
I understand the hype. Well, it's not hype anymore. He's confirmed it with Falatau, but he's not the player he has been in the past. I know he's put in some good shifts for Cardiff, and he had a good game against New Zealand, but he's only at about 80, maybe 85% of his best. I don't know if he can get to that peak anymore.
So, how when he came on in that Georgia game, things were starting to go backwards anyway. And then they just seemed to get worse and worse. We just didn't seem to have any go forward in the forwards. Do you know what I mean? I think it started with the front rows, where they took Ken off. There was no replacement for the experience. Yeah. Do you know, there was no... If they'd have brought Alan Wynne-Jones on, you maintain that experience, that drive, the leadership in the forwards. Yeah, and as good as Bradley Roberts is, and I've not got a problem with Bradley Roberts, but he didn't impose himself on the game. He's still finding his feet at international level, which he needs to. But there was nobody left in that pack that was shouting and screaming and going, this doesn't happen on our home turf. This doesn't happen against Georgia. There was nobody. There were no fire in the eyes going, that last scrum where they just absolutely destroyed us, even at youth level, you'd have somebody there screaming and grabbing your props and going, right, I want everything on this. This is important. This is what we do. And it just didn't feel like there was the leadership on the pitch that I think we desperately need. And
I think that all goes back to selection. I think Pivac got his team selection absolutely wrong. He had it completely backwards. I mean, you have your experience on the bench, not your new boys, for a game like this. I really think that's probably the one area where I have lost faith with Pivac is in his team selections. I'm not understanding them, and with bringing in new players, I just don't understand how 5 minutes here and there is going to allow them to adapt to international level.
Yeah, I think he needs to bring players in because we just don't have... I mean, we've said this before, we just don't have the depth that we need to have to play... not necessarily play at that level. I'd say we've got a solid 22. If everyone's fit, we've got a solid 22 that will compete with the best in the world. And we saw that in South Africa. The problem comes when you lose Bigger, and then you lose Halfpenny, and then you lose Johnny Williams at inside centre. And so you lost 3 backs. And then you go, right, okay, now I'm into my second level of those backs, and it just takes 1 or 2 people to have an off day, and you're really starting to struggle. Then we've got George North, who's a winger playing at outside centre, still not imposing himself as an outside centre. He's doing okay, but he's not imposing himself. And then we've got like some of the most exciting back 3 on the planet in terms of Dyer, Zammit, and whoever we choose to put on the other wing, to be honest, whether that's what's his name?
Adams.
Yeah, Josh Adams, or we could put anybody. We've got an exciting back three, and we're just not getting the ball to them because we've not got the players in front. We've got forwards who are getting stuffed, and then we've got backs who are finding their feet, and playing together. And there's just no leadership on that pitch, and that was the bit for me that just Tiprick isn't a leader. He's a decent player. He's a good club player.
I wouldn't say he's not a leader. He's not a captain, but he he does put his hand up. He can be quite chopsy when you see him in the little huddles. I don't think he's quite captain material at this level, but no, he is definitely a leader in my eyes.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see for this weekend. I think Tipperick gets dropped and Ken gets made captain. I think Sheriff at the front, giving it large, giving it some welly, and then my back row then would be Falatau at 8 and McLeod and Jack Morgan. And I think that would provide us with a lot of ball, particularly, Hooper is out for the Australia game, but if we can, Australia like to play the game around the back row. They base their game around the back row and, where the back row can do damage, sort of thing. So
I think Valentini is struggling as well.
Yeah, they're really down to the bare bones. And if we put 3 7s on the park again and they play the way they did in that first half, we should be, 15, 20 odd points up. Against Georgia, by the end of that first half, we should have been 20, 25 points to the good, But, yeah, I don't, like you say, it's that selection bit, and you can only put the players on the park that you select, and I think that is where he's getting it wrong as well. But then I think that's part of a bigger picture as well, So there's been a lot of stuff in the press about Zach Pivac and this, that, and the other. What's your thoughts on it? Where does he stand?
I don't know. Like I just said, I've lost a bit of faith with him on the selections. I still think that he's a very capable coach, and that we saw in 2021 the Six Nations that he can produce the sort of play that we want to see. I know there's a few red cards in that tournament that benefited us, but at the same time, you've still got to play the game. So unless the person who the WRU want to take over after him after the next World Cup, because he's not surviving after the next World Cup unless we get to the final. I've got no doubt about that. But unless that person is available now, then I don't see the point in chopping and changing just to do the exact same thing in a year's time.
Yeah, and I think that's my take on it as well. That I genuinely can't see him surviving past the Six Nations. What I would like to see is similar to what New Zealand did, where they changed a couple of coaches in the setup, and it had a little bit of an effect.
That's what we saw at the end of 2020, though. Where was it Byron? Hayward?
Yeah, Hayward went. Yeah, and there was a reaction to Geth and Jenkins coming in, but I think for the best will in the world, Stephen Jones should have stayed at the Scarlets and should have taken over as head coach at the Scarlets. That's what should have happened. When Pivac was made head coach, I said at the time that I didn't think it was a good idea. And nothing to do with the form of the Scarlets at the time. It was based on, if you take anybody from any of the regions, you automatically have a problem with somebody. If you put a Scarlets coach in there, Ospreys coaches are gonna Osprey supporters are just gonna, they're not gonna give him a 50-50 at all. We saw that with Priestland when Priestland had a bit of dodgy season, and Ospreys fans just ripped him to shreds. And he turned it round, but it took him 3 or 4 seasons out of Wales to get back to where he was, and now he's probably too old to maximise the skill that he had. So, yeah, I think anybody that gets promoted internally is just on a hide into nothing. From the start, they're just not going to get the run of the green. If you remember when we took Ron Waldron from Neath. This is way back end of the 80s now, 80s, 90s. So Ron Waldron and Neath were beating everything. I think they beat Australia or something like that. And we went, right, okay, Ron Waldron, he's the guy. And he got absolutely slated by everybody that watched every game. And I think he lasted 12 months and he went. And then we did it with the guy from Cardiff, Alec. Oh, God, I've forgotten his name again. Anyway, so the guy from Cardiff, tall guy, moustache, Australian, he came in. This guy's going to rescue Wales. But Cardiff supporters are going, yeah, he's fantastic. And then everyone else went, he's a bag of crap. So, and I think he suffered from that. And it just on the basis that nobody's going to give him a chance to do it. And as soon as they've had a chance, they've stuck the boot in. So, I think whoever comes in after him needs to come out from outside. So what's your thoughts on Pivot then? Where is it gone wrong? Where is it going? Is it going right anywhere at all? And how does he solve it?
I honestly have no idea. I mean, I don't understand why they can't play the right way. Well, not the right way, but the way Pivot wants. You just see is a step or two slow. I don't know whether or not it's a loss of faith in him or if the boys just haven't got the fitness to do it. I know there was talk, when the squad his name about carries, conditioning level not being up to scratch. So I'm really not sure what the overall issues are. I think, the best thing he could do right now is, just chuck every youngster in for Australia to give him experience, load the bench with the likes of Ken Owens, Alan Wynne, etc., and just give him our experience. And then if he's still there come Six Nations, because I'm really not sure if he's going to be, pick a younger squad and just give them those 5 games to adjust to international level and give us a bit more depth. Because okay, we don't know what our best 15 is. Well, he doesn't know what our best 15 is, but he knows he's got 15 players that can do a job. So put the ones immediately behind who haven't got that sort of level of experience in and let them have a run of games, because no one's going to be expecting anything the Six Nations now. I mean, I expect most people think it's going to be a wooden spoon affair. So there really is nothing to lose, especially if the WRU say, yeah, you can stick it out to the World Cup. You should just go, look, I'm just going to play these kids now, essentially, in the Six Nations. We're probably not going to have a great result, but this is what we need to do to build that bit of depth and going into the summer games against England and is it Ireland we're playing in the summer?
I think 2 against England and 1 against Ireland, isn't it?
And then I'll start picking our best 15 for those games to build into the World Cup. So I think he can still do it. There's obviously opportunity there, and I know it was 18 months, but South Africa came in and swapped everything around 18 months before World Cup and done it. There are players there who can perform at the highest level. So, there's no reason why he can't, stick in the job and get a good performance out of Wales at the World Cup.
And to be fair, we have got a fair few players to come back from injury to boost that squad. Wyn Jones up prop. We've got Bigger, we've got Sanjay. We've got players out who can make an impact. We've got big impact players who are not there at the minute and who will be back by Six Nations or by World Cup. And it's a case of kind of getting to that place. But I think there's a lot of stuff going around at the minute that it kind of we're papering over the cracks. But
we've been papering over the cracks for a decade.
Yeah, and I think that's coming to the fore now, and it's lots of us have been saying this for a long time, that it's particularly under the Gatland era, where there were a lot of issues that were there. They could be seen, particularly if you were at a lower level of the game, and you could see that it was kind of crumbling around your ears, and nobody was doing anything about it. But it was okay because we were winning Grand Slams, we were winning Six Nations, we were playing well, we were high in the world rankings, and I think that's kind of come home to roost now. I think it's really showed that you need a strong pyramid, not just the top. You need hundreds of kids at under sevens being coached the right way at under sevens. You need a lot of coaches, you need a lot of players, and then as they get older, they need that support. They need they need more academies, they need more coaching, they need more exposure to a higher level of game before they get anywhere near to regions and nationals and this, that, and the other. We just didn't put that in place. We had the money there, and we went, hey, great, yeah, let's pay a bit of the debt off on the national stadium. Fine, fair enough. But it just, the failure to invest in the rest of the system is coming home to roost now. It's sitting there for all to see. So,
I mean, I think a good simple thing we could do is to just keep schools rugby for a few more years up to under 18. So, the Doer Shield sides are selected at under 15s. Keep doing that for 3 more years. Just to keep, and do away with the the actual academy sides. Have your training and wherever with the Scarlets, Ospreys, wherever. But keep those players, or new ones coming in and whatever. Keep those going for a few more years, just to build our level, just to keep everyone in the game.
But I think that's where it breaks down, where the colleges and the school system doesn't support rugby. And I'm not saying it should do. I'm not saying that that's the purpose of school, is to support rugby teams. But our local school hasn't got enough boys in it at the A level to field a team. And end up there are not enough. And the purpose of the college rugby was to kind of replace that, to be that next level up, and to take boys who were going to do that. And it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it. And you get things like, if you're from Aberystwyth or Pembrokeshire, that step to higher level rugby at Scarlets, just it's too far away. It's too big. The Pembrokeshire College doesn't do it, and that's why so many of the college boys have gone to Coleg Cigar, is because they can't play that higher level rugby at Pembrokeshire College. And what it means now is that there are a whole load of boys at Pembrokeshire College who probably could play a higher level, given the opportunity, given the chance, but they're stuck in a team that's kind of not going anywhere, and I think this is what I mean by that structure isn't working. I think it works in the inner cities, but I'm willing to bet that they miss quite a few boys out from the inner cities as well. But it's just not working in enough places for enough people. And we're missing a whole raft of players who could come through and play rugby at a higher level, and they're just not there. They're sat at home watching the game going, yeah, maybe I could have played,
It is disappointing when you look at it. I mean, the WRU announced, the playing numbers every single year. And, from under 7s to under 16s, that's 9 years or 10 years, however you want to look at it. So that number should be the same number as our senior players. 10 years. Senior players should arguably be a bit more. But it is literally a fraction of the amount of players we got at age grade. And it's like, there's obviously something going wrong because from the age grade rugby into youth and then into seniors, the drop off is absolutely massive. And as a country of only 3.5 million people, we can't afford to do that. I mean, rugby is supposed to be the national game. I mean, you are right, schools aren't there for rugby purposes, but at the same time, the WRU should be trying to get in with the education ministers and saying, look, we've got a massive problem by here. Can you help us out, keep our game at the forefront?
And that kind of brings us round to the whole thing about governance and responsibility of the people at the top of the WRU. So yeah, before I go off on one, what's your thoughts on the guys at the top of the WRU and the structure and the governance and all of that?
I mean, it works well for the amateur clubs. It really does. But the whole point of the WRU is to govern the professional side and the amateur side. And the way it's set up is the same as it was, back in the amateur days. These local clubs who are the lifeblood of rugby, don't get me wrong, they got control over these professional entities and they should be completely separate under the same umbrella. But the amateur shouldn't be able to say what the professional do, and the professional shouldn't be able to say what the amateur do. And I just don't. I can see, I can't remember who it was. One of the last chairmen of the WRU, we wanted to change some things, and he got ousted. And now Nigel Walker is trying to change a few things. And when you need the support of, was it like 66% or 75%?
Yeah, 75
of the amateur clubs, it's not going to work. The only way I can imagine anything happening is if the government come in and get involved, and I can't see that happening, or if the regions and the Welsh national team somehow split away from the WRU and form their own sort of union, and it sort of splits in that sort of way to try and get away from that amateur control.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to sit there and criticise the amateur clubs, and lots of us do. And don't get me wrong, they should not, like you say, you're absolutely bang on right. They should not be controlling what happens at the professional end of the game. But they are the lifeblood of the game. So we need something that works for everybody. And I think that's the bit that people kind of miss at the minute. I see a lot of people asking or demanding that we go back to this top-only approach that happened under Gatland. And all you do, you're just kicking the can down the lane where, in another 5 years, we'll be in the same place. Another 5 years, we'll be in the same place. And we're just constantly focusing on, maybe 30 players at the very top of the game. And that's not a sustainable way of doing it. The sustainable way of doing it is to have everybody around the table and say, right, okay, let's rip this up and start again. It's the time for when I was involved in club rugby from an administration point of view, I kept being told that we need to. It's about evolution, not revolution. We change little bits every now and again so that we don't have this great big massive fallout. And everybody was scared of this great big massive fallout because we'll lose players and nobody will come and watch the game and this club may go and all of this kind of stuff. And it's a load of rubbish. Because you're in a position now we're 10 years, 15 years down the line from when I was having those conversations, where actually what they were saying that they didn't want to happen is now happening. That failure to make big decisions, that failure to grab the bull by the horns and say, actually, this is what we need for the future, that failure of vision, failure of leadership is now having an effect. And that's the bit that people don't see. They'll see that when Wales play well, more people come and watch rugby, more people go and play rugby, and they think, yeah, this is great. What they don't see is that in order to get Wales to play well, you have to invest for 10 years in every single stage of that triangle to get players up and up and up and up to get to that very top. And if you don't do that, all that happens, like with what would happen with Gatland, we had a very good, maybe 30 players at the top that were invested in, and then 5 of them retire, and you go, oh crap, we've got to find another 5 players to fill those gaps, and those players aren't there because they weren't coming up. You might find the odd one here and there, but there weren't enough coming up. And the governance that's in place is stopping people from making that big decision. It's stopping people from saying, let's go and change things, let's go and do things. And it's wrong. It's holding us back. I'm quite happy that at the minute people are starting to talk about it, because I've been banging on about this for God. My wife tells me to shut up. She won't even. If there's rugby on the telly now, she goes out shopping, which is costing me an absolute arm and a leg.
I'll be honest, mate. I think the one thing I've learned over the last 2 months of talking to you, the only words your wife knows is "shut up."
yeah. She just. I think you get to that stage where you're talking about stuff, and to me, it's quite simple stuff. We need to do bang, 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 bang. There's a whole list of stuff that we need to do. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, we should be doing this, we should be doing this needs to change, he needs to go, that position is wrong. Everybody the bit we're in at the minute, it is we're starting to create divisions in the game. Well, there are divisions in the game that are starting to pull themselves further apart instead of work out how to help each other. And that's the worst thing that's happening at the minute. And that's happening because at a point where we could have done something about it, everybody was giving themselves a great big pat on the back, going, "Look how good we are! Look at us! We've got another Grand Slam. Look at us! We're amazing! We're in the semi-final of the World Cup. We're fantastic!" And it wasn't fantastic. And people need to understand that rugby is a process over time. This year's under sevens will be playing for your senior team in 15 years' time. So that's the process you need to look at. And every time they touch a ball in between that first time where they pick up a ball at under sevens and the last time that they set foot on a rugby pitch, there has to be development all the way through. And we just don't get it.
I think a lot of people who have never been involved with a rugby club at that stage, outside of just the playing capacity, and you could probably go and talk to any age grade coach, and they can tell you a lot of the issues. And it does baffle you sometimes, because like you said, these kids at under sevens, they are going to be the future senior team. But like the difference between junior committees and senior committees, it's unreal.
It's massive.
It's like with my club right now, they're not that bothered until they hit the youth age. Like they care about seniors and youth. Anyone underneath, bugger them. Yeah, the juniors can deal with that. You need money for something. We'll see what we can get from the development grant. You're not coming into our pot.
Yeah.
There is. And to add to that, like a club I was involved with a couple of years ago, that you say about the coaching that's needed. I can't name them because I'm not going to do that. I'm not that type of person. But only one coach there they had an under sevens, 8s, 9s, and 10s. There was only one coach who was qualified, and there was about 9 coaches.
Yeah, it's not on.
And you're just thinking, yeah, they've all got DBSs, but if they can't attend a 2-hour course,
just
and that is literally it. That is all the tag rugby is. The early contact is 4 hours, and the first 2 hours of that is the same as the tag anyway. So if you've done the tag within the last few months, they'll generally say, if you're struggling, don't worry about it. And it is literally so easy, and they have done them online in the past. Like I can remember I done my tag and my early contact top up online just because it was just easier. So I remember what I'm actually doing, like to make sure they haven't changed nothing.
Yeah.
And obviously you haven't been to an under 7s or under 8 game in a long time, but the amount of kids that just grab a tag and toss them on the floor, it does my nutting. I mean, it's a basic tag etiquette. You grab a tag, you lift it up, you shout tag, and then you wait for the player to pass the ball and you give it back. And the whole point of it is to take the person who's tagging and being tagged out of the game to create that little bit more space. And absolutely no one does it. And it's basic. It's a basic part of sportsmanship throughout the whole game. You know, these little things you build on, and if it's not there at the younger age, it's not going to be there at the older age.
Well, that comes to discipline, though, and that's a lot of what I think we've lost in the game in Wales. That personal discipline about, you know, you say about stuff like that. That then builds into a stage of where, and I used to say to my boys that discipline is doing the right thing when there's nobody around to tell you to do it. You know, and that is, you know, if you're a kicker, are you going to go and get 5 or 6 balls and spend a bit of time kicking, you know, in your own time? Are you going to spend a bit of time down the gym? Are you going to spend a bit of time doing your own fitness? Are you going to spend a bit of time with a couple of your mates just doing passing skills? You know, and that's the discipline that we should be coaching into players from a young age. Not building robots and saying you do this and then you do this and you do this, but building basic stuff into them, that this is how you pass a ball. The amount of kids I see nowadays who cannot pass a ball properly, you know, they're still doing swing passes, and you're sitting there going like, right, well, you know, your plane of trajectory there, you've got a 1 in 180 degree chance of getting that ball in the right place, or you do it like this. And I did it once. There were some kids playing down on the park, and I was walking the dogs, and I kind of walked around the outside of them, and it just drove me nuts. I said, right, boys, stop, because the way you're passing the ball is wrong. Let me show you how to pass the ball. These kids were 13, 14. Nobody'd shown them how to pass a ball, you know. And I'm sitting there going, how do you get to that age? Well, I know how you get to that age, and because nobody showed me. I didn't get shown until I went into my coaching courses after I'd retired playing, you know. And I've been going, oh my God, I just played the game for 20 years, passing the ball wrong. But mind you, I didn't used to pass the ball. I just score try. It was a lot easier. Shall I pass? Shall I score?
Yeah,
I just score. But I think that's part of the governance of the game is that we don't say to those junior players and those junior teams, you don't put enough emphasis on those and saying, look, you know, your part in developing young players is this. Yeah. It's about building skills. It's about building numbers. It's about building enjoyment. And all I see it now, under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, parents and coaches absolutely giving it mental about winning, and you're like, you're not there. You're not going to win the World Cup at under 7s. No. What you could do is develop the skills to look at the space and to look at how to pass and to look at how to run a supporting line at under 7. You can actually do that at under 7s, you know, and you can then build on those skills. So when you get to 18, 19, 20, you may well be in a national squad and this, that, and the other. But I just think we've got some of the system wrong, where we focus on the wrong, or we allow people to focus on the wrong things, and that's because there is no direction from above. You know, there's no, for the community game, there is no direction, because the way community clubs look at it is, if we develop a decent player, we're losing to the Scarlets. Yeah. And they see that as a negative. And it shouldn't be. It should be a positive. There should be a structure in place that says, at the minute, you get funding at junior level for every player and every coach, every qualified coach you have. Yeah, and that determines how much funding you get for your junior section. There should be something in there that says, actually, if you produce a player that goes on to play professional rugby, you get a little bit of something as well. If your club produces a referee that goes on to referee at senior level, your club gets a little something as well. and we need to connect the two. We need to separate them and say, this is your role and this is your role. You stick to that. You stick to that. This is how you interact. Because at the minute, they're just banging heads, going, I want this and I want this and we want that, and it's pulling them further apart, not bringing them together. And this is why my wife doesn't want to sit and listen to me talk about rugby.
No, I completely understand you, mate. There's no benefit to the clubs to create those top end players.
No. As soon as you develop a decent player, you lose that player, he'll go up the line. That's the attitude. But those clubs are more than happy to then sit there when a player does get to that top level. They're more than happy to sit there and go, oh yeah, look at our player, he's amazing. Come and join us, and we'll we'll turn you into that player. That sort of a thing, There's got to be a better way of connecting those two, and I think a lot of it is tied up in the fact that it's an adversarial approach that we take based on the way the WRU is set up. I keep going back to think of it like a jigsaw. Yeah. If we were sitting down doing a jigsaw now, you'd want a picture. Yeah. And I'd go to you and I'd go, right, Mark, you start looking for the edge pieces. Yeah. And I'll start looking for like that key picture. So there's a big yellow blob in the middle. So I'll start looking for that big yellow blob, and you start looking for the outside pieces. And when you've done the outside pieces and I've done the big yellow blob, then we'll have a look at what's missing, and we'll work out between us how we complete that jigsaw based on the picture that we see. At the minute, within rugby, we've got no picture. We've got nothing to hold the jigsaw pieces together. And we've got 5 people all going, all 5 of you want to complete that jigsaw at the same time. Do you know what I mean? And there's only 100 pieces there. And I just think we need better leadership, we need better governance, and we need a rethink of who does what in the game in Wales. And I think that goes beyond the game. I think that goes outside the game. It goes into communities, into politics, into finance, into all of this stuff that is probably beyond the remit of the WRU. But unless somebody stands up and says, this is what we need to do, nothing's going to happen. And we're going to be in the same thing again. And my wife's going to be going shopping, and left, right and centre, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. I'm going to be bankrupt because every time I start talking about rugby, my wife goes shopping. So, yeah, that's where we are. I need them.
I think we'll calm you down now, but I think we have to move on to something else. You're going a bit red in the face. I think your blood pressure's rising a bit, but
the more I think about it and talk about it, the more it winds me up. But
you really are. You're purple in the face. I can see it.
I've been calm for most of this week. I've been letting other people have a rant, and I just got to that stage. All right, okay.
You're that busy bottle. You're ready to explode.
Yeah, but the thing is I've been talking about this for 10, 15 years, mate. And I've been talking I've been saying this to people in clubs, into organisations, and all that happens is they tell you to go away because they don't like what you're saying.
Well, what you need to do is you need to get a megaphone and pop down Westgate Street and start shouting at the top of your lungs.
Well, I tell you what, mate, it wasn't so long ago where we had a problem in our local club with the guy who was chairman at the time, and it was part of this whole evolution, not revolution. It won't take too long, and he's getting old and he'll be out. And I was like, no, this is not the way we need to do it. This is we need different structure, different all of this kind of stuff. And it ended up with the only way I could do it was go into the AGM and publicly challenging people, every single member that was on that committee, and some of them were my friends, and I'm sitting there going like, this is bullshit, boys. You cannot carry on like this because you're going to end up without a club in a couple of years' time. And all sorts of stuff. I got kicked out. A couple of the boys that supported me got kicked out of that meeting. We got kicked out of the club. We got told not to come back. And then the season after, everything fell to pieces. He left. A couple of new people come in, and then they went up 3 divisions.
Who knew?
Yeah. So anyway, there we go. Let's talk about Scarlets. Let's get back to rugby. Let's talk about Scarlets. So, Gordon Bennett, yeah, I'm gonna give myself a heart attack one of these days, and I really am.
Oh yeah, you're pretty close for there, mate.
Let's talk about Scarlet Stormers on Friday night. So it's on BBC Two. I think it's 7:15, or was it 6:15? I forget which way the timing works.
I think it's 7:00. We should double check that now just to make sure we give the right information out.
Well, Scarlets have published the squads that they're taking down. 5:00 kickoff is what we've got. Yeah, so Scarlets have published the squad that they've taken down. They've taken 30 boys down. What do you make of the squad that they've taken?
I think it's pretty decent. You know, there's a good amount of experience. I like the look that we got Dan Davis, Carwyn Tupulotu, and Archie Hughes going, which is brilliant. You know, I like seeing some of the younger boys and some of the the fringe players going down. I'm a bit disappointed that Sam O'Connor's not going, because Phil Price has been has gone instead of him. I think it would have been good for Sam's development at this point in his career. You know, I think he's only had the one sub appearance for us so far. Would have been nice to just go down and have the experience. Obviously, probably don't play, but just to be in and around those environments is brilliant for anyone's development. We have lost a few boys, you know, to Wales, we all know, and this extra game against Australia is going to hit us a little bit. And I started looking at the Stormers side to see, you know, how many boys have they lost? And
I think they lost 8. I think they lost 8 players to
something like that. But the only ones who've really been consistently playing from this year is Libak, their 10, Ori, their lock, and I cannot say his name. He's a centre wing, Feinberg Ngomezulu. You know,
I'll take your word for that. Yeah, I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, they're the only 3 that have of all those selected for the box that have been involved in almost every match day squad. So they're really not losing much. Like, you know, Kitsoff and Malherba, they've only started one game, and I think Kitsoff has been a sub in another. So this is still the Stormers side that's been playing all the way through the URC so far. So they're not necessarily going to be any weaker where we kind of are a little bit.
I think the only place where we suffer is at hooker, because obviously we've got Ken and Ryan out in the national side. I mean, fullback with Halfpenny, who are we taking? We're taking Johan
McNichol, Rogers, Combia are all going to be our backs, I think.
Yeah, and Johan Nicholas
and Steph Evans are going to be covering centre. Corey Baldwin as well, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, that's a decent enough coverage of that backfield. I don't think that our backs are suffering from international fatigue, if you like. You know, Scott Williams is back. I think he is just so influential for us at the minute that when he is on the park, we play well. You know, we've got Patchell going, we've got Dan Jones going, Gareth Davis go, Archie Hughes is going as well. You know, there's a decent depth in our back line now that if we give them the ball, they should be doing stuff. You know.
Yeah, I know we've got those players going, but I do see halfback as a bit of an issue, because, you know, Gareth Davis hasn't exactly performed very well for us this season. And Archie, he's a young boy. I'm really looking forward to seeing Archie. Like, I watched some of the S4C games on the Thursday night, and he looked pretty decent. Same as Harry Williams, another young scrum half. He got a lightning pass. I'm looking forward to him coming through over the next few years. And we move into 10. I don't think Dan Jones has played particularly well, and Patchell really hasn't had much of an opportunity. So I am a little bit worried with 9 and 10. Not saying that they can't do it, because obviously they've done it in the past. They are, you know, Gareth Davis and Patchell are both international class players. So there's no reason why they can't step up and do a job. It's just not seeing it so far this season. I am a little bit worried.
Yeah, there's a little bit of form missing, isn't it? More than anything. I think it's good to see players back from injury more than anything. The likes of Scott Williams back from injury, I say Tupolotu, Dan Davis, Lozana, Shingler had a few games before, so he's coming back. And then you've got Fafita and Lausi coming back from cards. There's a lot of players going there that are, we haven't seen much of. Taylor Davis, hooker.
We haven't seen him at all, have we?
No, I think we've seen him a couple of times with Carmarthen Quins or maybe Clonelly. But yeah, I think front row is the place where we're weakest, if anything. But saying that, Sebastian is allegedly an international prop. Wilgriff John, allegedly an international prop.
And neither of them are first choice in my eyes.
No, same for me, mate. Same for me. But if that front row can stand up, then we've actually got quite a decent kind of set of players behind that. If you've got Luisi and Fafita in the second row, and then Blade Thompson, Lozana, and Callum Afoni behind that, or even Dan Davis and Aaron Shingler, that's a decent squad.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with our front row at the minute. I think Stefan Thomas is one of those not fringe players, but one of those people on the fringes of the Wales squad at the minute. With Wyn Jones injured and Carey not considered, I think Stefan Thomas could probably count himself a little bit unlucky not to have been involved with the Wales setup in some shape or form. I mean, Davies has proved decent enough as a hooker, as a young hooker. Taylor Davis, the same with the Dragons. He had a pretty good season. And like you said, we have got a supposedly international players at tight end. So I'm happy with our front row as it stands. It'd be nice if Wyn Jones was fit, but he'd be off for Wales if he was. So that's kind of out the window anyway. I'm a little bit unsure on lock, just because we've only taken 3 locks with us. Jack Price and Morgan Jones and Josh Helps, who I think is back fit again, have been left home. I'm not 100% sure why. I think Jack Price may have a niggle or a full injury, but the other two, I don't understand why we've only taken 3 locks with us.
Yeah, and I think you've got Shingler and Blade Thompson can both play at lock. They're a bit like, Lausi and Fafita. They can play second row, back row. They're that kind of dynamic player. So you've effectively got 4 players who can play second row and blindside. So it's one of those things that I never used to like switching between back row and second row, because second row you don't get the ball as much as you used to in back row. It's not as much fun, but it is a difficult change to make. But the boys that we've got there do it quite a bit. So no reason why they can't. Do you know what I mean? It's the norm for them.
Switching from second row to blindside is one thing. I mean, I'm a bit concerned of the other way, asking Shingler or Thompson to step into lock. They have done it in the past, and they are very capable, but they haven't done it in quite a while, so that does put me on edge a little bit. It's a different role in the scrum. It shouldn't be too much different in the line out, just because you got X amount of bodies there anyway. You can keep your same role, but that the scrum is something that's going to be tested massively over the next 2 weeks down in South Africa. So having a lock that's not used to being that tight and getting both your shoulders under, it can be an issue.
Well, hopefully they've had a couple of weeks together now. They've had a bit of time off, a bit of a break. New coaches coming in, bit of emphasis, and you can almost shake out the first part of the season and go, right, okay, let's just look at the next 6 weeks. Let's see how we go. So I'm hoping for a bit of a response. I'm hoping that Friday night is the start to the recovery that we've been you know, we're not that far away from being a good team with those first kind of 3 or 4 games. You know, certainly the Ulster game, if we'd have played that way against everybody else, and the Ospreys game, if we'd have played that way for the rest of the season, we'd have been fine. So yeah, I think if we can refine that form, and I think Scott Williams is key to kind of igniting that style of play, then I think we're in with a chance.
I'm not expecting a win against the Stormers, but I'm hoping for a good performance. The Lions, who are, they are really a different team than what we faced last year. They have performed incredibly well, and they are fronting up massively. So I know they're a week away, and that's a week down the line. But I'm hoping to see something against the Lions where I'm hoping for a win there. If I'm totally honest.
I think last time we went down, we played the Lions on the Friday night, and then we played the Sharks, I think, on the Saturday.
I think it was Sharks first, then the Bulls. We had Lions at home. I can remember attending that game.
Right. And that first game we played
awesome.
Again, yeah, and we were not that far away from winning that game. So I think people will underestimate who's going down there. I think people won't be expecting too much from us, and I think they might put out a bit of a development side against us, a bit of a lighter side, and I think we're going down there with a point to prove, and I think we're going to come away with certainly at least one victory out of that.
I think you're right with the Stormers and an A side, because they are going into the Champions Cup for the first time, and I think they might be thinking, oh, okay, let's make sure everybody's got a run out, everyone's fit, so we can really give ourselves a good show for the first time in Europe.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. So let's finish up with some predictions then, and then we'll quickly have a look. There's not many games in the community game this week. So predictions for Scarlets and Stormers. You go first.
Oh, I'm always going to predict a win, just because with the Scarlets,
you just said that you can't see us winning.
I can't see us winning, but I'm going to predict us winning. That's the difference with me. My professional feeling and my heart are two very different things.
Right, go on.
I'm always going to go for Scarlets when you should know that by now. Let's see. We've had Lee Blackett for a month, so let's hope our attacking game's picked up a little bit more. So, let's go 26-23.
Oh, so you're going a close game. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 20 points to 10. Scarlets win. I think it'll just be one of those games where everything works well and there's a whole lot of pressure. We hold out the pressure. Our scrum holds up, our ruck, our maul, our line out, all of that stuff holds up. I defer we get a good testing in defence, and then we'll have a couple of decent tries as well. And I can just see 20 points to 10, and coming off everybody smiling and happy. So that's my prediction. So let's we'll talk about that obviously next week, and how close to predictions we actually were. But
we'll actually have a proper game to review next week. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, we've still got the Australia game to. Anyway, I'm just this is why I start getting. Let's talk about the community game, because it's a bit of a week off, bit of a catch-up week this week. So you were saying earlier only two cup games.
Yeah.
You said, yeah.
2 massive cup games. We got Aberystwyth at home to Dunvant, and we've got Tenby at home to Hoylecow. And in both of those games, it is the winner who qualifies for the knockouts in the cup.
Right. Okay.
There's a little bit with Tenby and Hoylecow's group that it's possible that Resolvan could hold firm in that top spot, but as it stands, the way it's looking, the winners are going through to the knockouts. So these are big games for these clubs.
And wasn't Hoylecow the boys where they couldn't get a bus? Yeah. I just think on that Tenby are gonna kind of make them pay.
I'm
I can see
surprised the
Tenby.
game is being played. If you're going to use that excuse, you deserve to forfeit the match. Not just because, I'm in favour of Tenby, but if you're going to pull that one out the day of or the day before, it's pathetic.
Yeah. So I can see a comfortable Tenby victory there. I don't think it'll be a high scoring one because the weather's meant to be absolutely abominable for this weekend. But it is what it is. If that's when the game's got to go ahead, I'm assuming it's going to be an early kickoff. It's going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff probably, isn't it? But it's going to be crazy weather this weekend. So,
well, let's hope it's enough to play the games, or at least 60 minutes, so that the result stands.
Yeah. Well, the one that kind of will be more affected is the Aberystwyth game. Is that in Aberystwyth or in Dunbar?
Yeah, it's home for Aber.
And again, that's a wide open. If they're still playing on the same pitch, it's a wide open, exposed pitch. That trying to pass a ball on that with a 50-mile-an-hour wind telling you no is going to be an interesting game. So I can see Aberystwyth coming away with that again. Home game. Dunvant aren't going to want to be there. There's going to be players that don't want to travel.
Wales are a 3:15 kickoff, so anyone who goes is effectively not going to be home or back in their own clubhouse for the game. So fingers crossed they send weak sides. Not that Aber or Denby need it, but a helping hand never goes amiss, does it?
No, exactly. So are you predicting Tenby and Aberystwyth as well then?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely. So we'll have an extra few bodies in the knockout rounds as well.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, after this week, we should know who's playing who and when, because I think January 23rd sticks in my head as the next round of the cup.
Yeah,
I think that's
the fixtures have come out. I'm sure I posted them on the page, but it's a complicated setup with some of the games still to be played.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I remember seeing them come out. Yes, I remember now. Complicated as hell. Yeah, 21st of January is when the next round is. And let me have a quick look there. Yeah, Aberystwyth, if they get through, they'll be playing Penarta. Is it Penarta? Penalto. Anyway, they'll be playing there. I don't know. But
Neither do I. I'm not trying.
No, that's it. That's half the problem. Is that? And then if Tenby get through, I'll just have a little.
They got a bye.
I've gone on to the league fixtures. I have. Let me have a look. There we go. Cup fixtures. Let's have a little look. If Tenby, why are they not in there?
I'm pretty sure someone's got a bye. They might be Group I because there's 3 of them that can qualify.
Well, yeah, winner Group I, yeah. So they'd be bye, yeah. So they'd get through. Well, again, that's stupid. They're 1, 2, 3 buys, 4 buys, 4 games get a bye. Well, we'll talk about that another time. We'll discuss that at a later date. And then Division 3, I don't think there might have been 1 or 2 going through, mightn't there?
Yeah, I'm sure we got someone in every round. Well, before this weekend games.
Yeah. Oh, so in Division 2, 21st of January, Larne versus Sinclair's again. That would be fun. Haverfordwest got through. They play either Vardra or Swansea. Swansea Uplands, sorry. So yeah.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
But it is just Haverfordwest that got through, and then Larne and Sinclair's, and they play each other. So there we go, my friend. There we go. Right. Okie dokie. Well, with that in mind, then it is time to bring this happy meeting to a close, my friend. Fingers crossed there'll be some decent rugby played this weekend, and I won't have to fill the gap with my rants about the WRU and various things.
Yeah, we wait for the Six Nations then now, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll fill it in then. But anyway, mate, you have a good weekend. Enjoy your rugby, and I will catch up with you next week, my friend.
No worries, mate. Pleasure
All
talking
the best,
to you again.
And you, mate. Cheers, mate. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters PEMS team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet PEMS, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.